And joining us now to discuss this controversy is lawyer and social development advocate Jide Ologun. We also have public affairs analyst Daniel Akilami with us. Gentlemen, Mr. Ologun, Mr. Akilami.
Good morning.
You're welcome. Good to see you again.
Good morning. Thank you.
And I want to begin with you, Mr. Ologun, especially, here we are again. It's a terrain that, I'm sure you both are familiar with. But, this appears to be quite peculiar. And, that's where I want to you to touch on in your first series of analysis. So what do you make of this, NLC, this organized labor strike? It's primarily based on, the ill treatment, which many have condemned. But, it's a national issue. It's not a national issue. What do you think?
Let me start by saying that under the labor law, a strike is an instrument, particularly when there is failure of implementing collective bargaining. But then there are procedures that must be followed. And again, if you look at the decision that came out of the National Industrial Court, there's also the issue of no work, no pay, which is also supported by law. Like the government can use to say, okay, we want to control. But let me say that the issue of low wages, responding to the welfare of workers is nothing new in Nigeria. I did the research. The first industrial action, it was even before the amalgamation, as far back as 1879. We had one in 1912. But the prominent one in Nigeria was that of 1945, led by Pa Michael Modu. And workers were demanding for increase in minimum wage and some welfare benefits, which the government was not willing to. In fact, the government responded with a little addition. But that strike was extremely successful. Even some nationalists had to join. The citizens were almost offering some goods to the strikers, either free or almost free. And those were the glorious days of unionism in Nigeria, fighting the cause of workers and by extension, the cause of the citizens. But in this most recent one, and like you raised, other elements are coming in, like the battering of the NLC leader in Imo State. And I believe that this is a new concept entirely, because the main purpose of having the labor movement is to protect the interest of the workers. Fine. Institutionally speaking, he is the leader of NLC, but there are better alternatives in engaging that scenario. And again, there's what you call timing in strategy. He's going to Imo State. It was at a time when it was a volatile season. The election was coming. Ajero himself is perceived to be a strong member of Labour Party. And so these issues came up. I will not in any way support the molestation that was rolled out against him. But that could have been addressed by going to court to sue for battery or whatever the lawyer decides. We fly over there and focus mainly. I don't think it should be tied to the general demand for upscaling workers' welfare in Nigeria and by extension, bringing down the hardship on the people. And that is where it may appear that NLC may be losing steam gradually, particularly when you now place that on the platform of several threats that have been rolled out and called off. NLC used to be a strong force in the nation. But by and large, like I said, the right to strike is legitimate, but it must follow proper procedures. And the government also must be seen to respond. That is why I took the pain to go back to history. That government has not been, reckoned to respond sufficiently to the demands of the labor union. And if you look at the International Labour Organization's recommendations, there should be fairness in that relationship, there should be responsiveness and other elements. But here we are right now we are still battling to ensure social harmony in the nation. And who are the victims? Citizens, the economy, the processes of business. So let me.
And the strike is still in place. Labour has, spoken out on the issue. The federal government, slammed Labour essentially for embarking on this strike at a time like this.